Hey, it's Kate with Mount Vernon Consulting here with your monthly book recommendation. The purpose of these recommendations is to provide you with resources to help make you a better employee, manager, and leader in the workplace. I want you to think for a moment back to what you made as your New Year's resolution. How is it going? Have you been able to actually fulfill that or implement anything that you wanted to change? If not, don't worry. That is why millions of people have been reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It was published in 2018 and it is a New York Times bestseller for a reason. It's because this book taps into something that seems very simple, but is so hard for us to actually implement, and that is making really good habits. So, in this book, he explores the reasons behind why we struggle to make habits and addresses different theories and solutions for how we can implement better habits in our work life. Now, the book is a pretty easy read. It's not deeply academic. It has a lot of actionable items to it. And what I really particularly love is at the end of each chapter, he has a summary of what were the key points in each one of those chapters. Because let's be honest, we're all busy, and it's just sometimes nice and helpful to skim towards the end of each section and read a quick summary. A couple of the big takeaways that I took from this is he talks a lot about how making a habit can become part of your identity. So he gives an example of a person who is trying to quit smoking and someone offers them a cigarette. So one way of saying it is, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. Another way of saying it is, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. Two very different approaches to what you're saying. But in that habit here, in this example, in the habit of trying to cut out smoking, you've taken on the identity that you are no longer a smoker. And so I thought that was a really interesting and actionable suggestion, and something that I've been doing more in my personal and professional life is trying to shift my identity and how I present myself and how I think about myself. So, another thing he talks about is this concept of multiplying habits, or this multiplier effect, kind of like compounding interest. So, the theory that the more you work on your habits and the more effort you put into the habits and you slowly build it up and you make little changes every single day, the more that it will continue to grow and grow and grow. Kind of like if you're contributing to your 401k and then 20, 30, 40 years later, you look and realize that it has grown exponentially, hopefully. So that is a concept that he has. Kind of playing off into that is this concept of this 1% improvement. So he uses an example of the UK cycling team that was consistently having troubles or struggling to win any major awards like Tour de France or in the Olympics. And so instead of making massive changes across the board, they started to implement these 1% changes. So little changes that they could change, implement into their habits. And then because of that, they were able to actually sort of systemically change where a lot of their challenges were. And then they went on to win several Tour de France's in a row. So the thing about this book is that you can apply it to yourself personally, you can apply it to yourself professionally, you can apply it to your organization or your teams. So you can look at this at a macro or a micro level in terms of implementing what those recommendations are. So overall, I think it was a really good book. It was a pretty easy read. Lots of things that theoretically should be something that we all know, but it's always helpful for us to read books that will lay out things in digestible chunks. So again, this month's recommendation is Atomic Habits by James Clear.